Good morning, Stockholm. It's nice to be here on such a sunny day. So Initiator Pharma, as you just saw, is a company where we do a lot of different things. And today I'll just give you a brief overview of what we do and what our intent is to do in the future. So the normal disclaimer. So we want to create shareholder returns by delivering therapies for patients in need. We have 3 ongoing clinical programs, and we have a very cost-efficient setup, actually taken with a modest investment, have reached to the point where we are today. We are founded and also operated by a very experienced team of entrepreneurs with a broad set of skills, all the way from R&D all the way to marketing of products. We are a Danish company. We are listed on First North, and we recently announced new financing of the company, 20 million direct from the 2 cornerstone investors, Linke and Adrigo, and a rights issue of 41 million Swedish to the existing shareholders. This, of course, is pending approval at the EGM in 18th of May in this year. And this will secure funds for the company running throughout into 24. So we have about 4,000 shareholders besides Linke and Adrigo, and we have had many shareholders for a number of years that has supported the company as we have evolved. What we are focused on in the programs that we have in the clinic today, we very much focus on programs where we modulate monoamines. Monoamines are molecules that we all know, serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, and these molecules are important in signaling and function, such as emotion, mood, sexual dysfunction, and specific types of memory. It's a validated technology. It's been used for many years to treat pain and depression. But with this validation, we also know that the compounds have severe side effects. Some of them actually give sexual dysfunctions, cardiovascular issues, and other adverse side effects. What we are generating and developing in Initiator Pharma is a new generation of molecules that modulates the monoamine levels. So we actually get all the benefit, but we minimize the side effects. And that's what we are developing. We have a pipeline consisting of multiple programs. So we have 2 programs in erectile dysfunction. We have what we call the IP 2015, which is an organic erectile dysfunction. That's in a phase 2B study. We have the IP 2018 program that's in psychogenic ED study, that's in phase 2A study. And then last summer, we announced that we wanted to go into pain, neuropathic pain specifically, with the same drug candidate that we use for organic erectile dysfunction, IP 2015. And we are running right now a study, a phase 1C in healthy subjects, where we induce pain in these patients. Then we have 2 preclinical assets in the pipeline, and these 2 assets we have there, we are working together with NIDA, so that's the National Institute of Drug Abuse in the US, trying to see if we can use them to treat addictions for various compounds over there. And then recently we announced that we are signed an option agreement for a new compound, a phase 2B, 3 ready, within the pain space. At this time, we will not talk more about the project, but saying that we are evaluating it, making sure we have a development path that we can bring it forward, and also in the right indication. So targeting unmet needs for many patients worldwide. We have multiple upcoming inflection points in 2022. So we're going to complete the phase 2B study in the organic erectile dysfunction trial. We're going to complete the IP 2018 trial. We're going to have the readout of the pain challenge trial that I mentioned. And then also we're going to complete the drug development of 2015, where we're optimizing the product and securing additional IP. And then we are potentially going to exercise the option agreement we have on a phase 2B3 ready assets. So again, in a very cost-efficient manner, we are creating value in the company. Looking at erectile dysfunction, we are actually focused on all the patients that do not respond to the current treatment. This is about 30 to 40% of the men that actually do not respond to standard of care. So we also see an increasing number of men suffering from this, more than 400 million men by 2025. This number has been increasing. And these patients is what we want to provide relief to. So what we are running first is the organic erectile dysfunction trial. So here we are running a phase 2B study, an intercourse study as we call it, in 120 patients. And these 120 patients here, we are split up into 3 groups, placebo and a high and a low dose of IP 2015. So here we actually go in, we look of course for safety and tolerability, And then in addition to that, we are looking at the EEIF score, which is actually an approved endpoint for approving erectile dysfunction drug. This is the same endpoint that was used when Viagra and Cialis was approved about more than 20 years ago now. So this is actually not only talking about the ability to get an erection, but also the entire intercourse. How did you feel? Did you reach a climax and so on? Really important for the developability of the project. We expect to complete the dosing at the end of the year and also maybe potentially have top-line data just around the turn of the year. In the 2018 trial in the psychogenic ED, we are pushing along with the 24 patients. Here we include mild depressed patients that suffer from ED. And here we are looking at a bit of different scores. We do a RITI scan score, and this means that we can measure erection in the patients when they get exposed to an erotic stimulation via a video film. We have here, it's a 3-arm study, so it's a double-blinded. It's a crossover study where they get both placebo and high and a low dose of the IP18 program. And we're looking forward to having these results in this year, so we can actually design a phase 2b study in this program. We can see that both clinical trials are progressing well. We have good enrollment of patients. We see COVID-19 is almost gone with the challenge we have experienced in England, and now we're actually progressing really well with these trials. Then I mentioned briefly on the pain asset, neuropathic pain. Here we go into trigeminal neuralgia. And trigeminal neuralgia is a pain indication where you get a very severe pain down over your face. It's more common in females than in males. It often comes after the age of 50, and you can say it's really one of the most excruciating pains you can experience. And that's why they actually call it, some refer to it as the suicidal pain. So we see in this one, you can do either of two things. If you can find out what is the cause of the pain, you can do a surgery, you can go in and you can decompress the area where the nerve is compressed by either a blood vessel or a tumor. If you cannot see anything that presses the nerve, you can go to a pharmacological treatment. Here, there's only one approved drug, that's carbamazepine, an old anticonvulsant with a lot of side effects, and it only has part efficacy, and it's not working really well in all patients, and we also see that it's wearing off over time. So there's a high unmet need here, and we believe that IP 2015 is that drug. The study that we actually now announced that we have included and dosed the last patient is a 4-way crossover. So each healthy subject comes into the clinic. We inject it with capsaicin, which is inducing pain in the arm. And then we do a whole test of pain tests and assessments of these healthy subjects. They get 4 different doses. Placebo, they get a high and a low dose of the 2015 compound. And then also we benchmark it against pregabalin, an existing drug that is approved in some neuropathic pain indications, not in trigeminal, to use this study as what we call a PK/PD, so pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics study. We want to understand how this compound behaves in the pain setting, allowing us to design an appropriate phase 2 study in the pain segment for the trigeminal neuralgia patients. This, of course, we have many pain endpoints included in this study, and some of them would be very translatable to neuropathic pain, and some of them are more to peripheral pain. But in all, it will guide us in designing the phase 2 study. We expect to have the results of this study at the end of the second quarter. And just a brief development, what is the development plan going forward here? So we see in green, I've shown you the proof of principle pain study. When we have completed that, we will actually start designing the phase 2A study in patients. The current thinking is that we'll do a crossover study in around 20 patients suffering from trigeminal neuralgia. But this is something we're discussing both with the patient organizations and also with the regulatory authorities. So we actually can make sure we have the most efficient development path. We do these stepwise to de-risk the program as we move it forward, and also to create value in a more secure way. So why should you invest in Initiator Pharma? We have multiple upcoming value inflection points. We are maximizing the value of safe drug candidates with broad utility, so they can both work in ED and in the pain setting. We are operated by a highly experienced operational team. We have financing in place for the clinical readouts that I've shown you. And also we have an attractive risk-reward profile. And what do I mean with that? We are working with validated targets. So we know what we are targeting. We know how the function of these targets work when we give our drug. And also, the indications that we are looking at fast relief. So in the ED, you would be an on-demand tablet, you will see the response straight away. In the pain scores, you will see pain relief in a few days. So the trials will be relatively short, reducing the cost of such trials and allowing us to develop significant data at a modest investment. So we are maximizing shareholders' value, again, using this cost-efficient setup and a structured approach to go-no-go decision in a very balanced portfolio, spreading across both sexual dysfunction and pain, and now also evaluating an additional brain program. And with that, I would like to say thank you for your attention and be ready for taking some questions.
Tack för en bra presentation. Om ni nu har några frågor så är det som sagt var baksidan ni skannar, så kommer ni till frågeformuläret och så är det bara att skicka in. I could start off with your first candidate. IP 2015 is tested both in a study against erectile dysfunction and in a study against trigeminal neuralgia. How are the studies related?
You can say that it's what I said in the beginning of the presentation. We know that monoamines are really important in a broad, range of physiological functions, and this is both being the sexual function and also the pain function. So you can say so they have the same kind of mechanism. It's the same target we are modulating, but we know that depending on how much we modulate the different monoamines, we get different responses. For example, people taking antidepressants where you increase the serotonin level, you actually start inducing a sexual dysfunction. And this is where you can say that noradrenaline and serotonin are really strong and powerful monoamines, whereas with our compounds have a more of a dopaminergic profile, giving us a little bit more of the, you can say, the efficacy, but not so much of the side effects.
First question from the audience: will you invest in the rights issue?
So in the rights issue upcoming, we will invest in the rights issue. I don't know how much there will be invested from the existing parties, but we have participated in all the issues that we have done so far. We have also sometimes used our rights to bring in new investors, so we have actually to make sure we expand the portfolio.
Next question from the audience. What do you know about the safety profile of IPTN now when the same compound is ongoing phase 2B trial?
So you can say in a phase 2B trial, we only hear from the CRO if something is wrong. So we cannot see any data, but if we have adverse effects or adverse events, we'll be informed. So you can say that the longer we are progressing in that trial, the more comfortable we'll feel about dosing this compound. And that will also be the same safety profile we'll see in the pain. So we are definitely thinking our compound is very safe.
So no news from the COO is good news?
Exactly.
Okay, yeah. Previously, you've had delays regarding patient recruitment in a few of your studies. What is the current status?
Yeah, so we only had the delays in one study, and that was the IP 2018 trial. So the patients included in this trial are patients suffering from a mild depression and erectile dysfunction. Just as the COVID came, you actually restricted for going to your normal therapist and having your discussions and so on. So many of these patients got extra medication instead of seeing their therapist. So they were actually, you can say, too heavily dosed for including in our trial, and that's actually made recruitment quite difficult. But now with the opening of the society again, we feel very comfortable completing this trial, and we are looking forward to see the results in this.
In addition to your 3 clinical programs, you also have 2 preclinical programs. Can you say something more about the way forward for them?
Yeah, so those programs have a similar profile to the compounds we have in the clinic, but they are different. And together with NIDA, so the National Institute of Drug Abuse in the US, they actually were very interested in our compounds because they saw that we could actually dose them without having the normal side effects of these compounds. So they suggested us taking them in to look for, treatment of addiction for methamphetamine and cocaine. So right now we're running a number of in vivo studies and animal models together with NIDA. And when we have that final package, we will together with NIDA evaluate if these compounds can be used for addiction. And the good thing about if we want to develop in that space, there is actually funding from NIDA to do so. However, the compounds were originally developed for depression and neuropathic pain, and they still have very good profiles for that. So we're still evaluating if they could be used in this segment as well.
Last question from the audience. For how long will the rights issue finance your operations?
So we are into 24 will finance the operations with the current activities that we have ongoing.
Thank you very much, Claes Elsborg Olesen.
You're welcome.